the people involved in those changes be brought in and be heard and be a part of that planning, that the planning just doesn't take place without any of their input. And secondly, as the planning is taking place, communication is developed to the social service people of Tarrant County as well as to the constituency of Tarrant County as to what these moves mean.
Harvey's subcommittee would make its report to the November meeting of the advisory committee. We didn't.
Governor, how you doing? Need to just get a picture of you with the mayor here if we could.
Where's the mayor?
He's right behind you here. Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. All right, thank you very much. This is where you're going to be speaking over here, I guess. Okay.
As soon as they get in here, well, we'll be good. Are they coming in?
Good.
Follow-up will be accomplished for the Hospital District Outreach Counseling Service, and when the Outreach Counseling Service will report back on all contacts made and the results. Mr. Chairman, I submit this recommendation.
Unless I'm taking it a little more pessimistically than it was meant, it sounds to me like what they're really trying to say is that there will not be any follow-through workers, that you're going to rely on other agencies to do this type of work, and that there will be some people here in the hospital that after you've exhausted all the other resources in the community, if you can't find help for these people, then there'll be somebody in the hospital that can do this job.
In the changes that have been taking place in the last few months, the public has not really been informed as to what these changes are. I'm kind of getting the feeling myself of 1984 becoming reality in the fact that Big Brother is moving and we, the people of Tarrant County, don't really know what's happening.
All of those people devoted their full time to the crisis intervention and follow-through services. That money, the fund...
social service worker or an outreach worker might be involved in another program. Does not...
Time is not what we need.
The kind of things that they usually got into were for is number one, that if some plans are to be made and some changes are to be...
Up until along in September, there were a full-time direct...
A single state school for the mentally retarded, which can actually provide services to those who require them, is infinitely more valuable than putting 10 on the drawing boards, which may never be built. We are proud that we had the opportunity and the funds to do the job right and to make a reality of the Fort Worth State School.
This is 24. Yes, sir. 24.
I'll give you one of these.
The pork products in this area are wholesome, they're good. I eat them myself at least once a day.
Well, it sure beats 75th, and I think that's where we started out the season, somewhere around 75 in the nation, and it's a great feeling, and I certainly think the Mustangs deserve the ranking.
Coach, I know no head coach likes to get into comparative football with previous teams, but is this ball club potentially as good, say, as a 66 bunch?
I believe that this football team has the raw potential to be developed into an outstanding football team. We still have so many inexperienced people, relatively speaking, after 5 ball games at skilled positions that it's really hard to evaluate, other than the fact that we could become a very outstanding team, but the quality of our opposition could maybe not permit us to look as good as we really are.
Has Keith Bobo solidified himself now at quarterback?
Keith Bobo will start against Texas Tech this week.
Up to this point in the season, you've made a lot of changes in the lineup and shifted personnel. Now that you're this far along, are you pretty well stable in your lineup?
Yes, we're very stable in our lineup with the exception of the weak points, and we will continually evaluate the weak points each week, and at this time we still have a couple of weak points, so we may have a couple of more surprise starters come Saturday.
Coach, you don't sound very stable in your lineup.
We're stable with the exception of a couple of places, and I think for SMU that's very stable.
The answer to that is sort of yes and no. The bill, as it finally came out of the conference, was a compromise between the House and Senate bill. Under the House bill, state income tax collections were a major element in the allocation formula, and therefore a state would be penalized. A state like Texas would be clearly penalized on the House formula. On the Senate formula, does not have an element of income tax collections in it, so the state of Texas would not be penalized.
I voted for the ethics bill, and I voted to allow the courts to conduct the investigation of the stock scandal because the legislature was not a jury, and it was not up to the legislature to decide the guilt or innocence of those individuals involved. In other words, I voted to allow our judicial process to follow its due course.
Showing the indictment and conviction of various top state, our immediate past Attorney General, the Speaker of the House, Tommy Shannon, whipped for Gus Mutcher, and the other cases that I have referred to. So this is the material that we're passing out.
Betty, Mike, thank you. Mike, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it was a good meeting.
Thank you.
We enjoyed being here.
Say that certainly met my expectations. I enjoy it. Quite cool.
The man who sees no further than his bank account is a fool. And the city that has no heart for its children, it's aged, it's lame, it's halt, and it's blind, is itself lame and halt and blind. On the other hand, a man or a city that takes delight in serving the interest of the handicapped, the unfortunate, the children, and the aged will be both wise and happy.
With less than 72 hours left and more than $900,000 short in this year's United Fund campaign, United Fund officials are making a last-minute effort to reach that $9.5 million goal. 90% of the goal has been reached. The other 10% has to be reached by the close of campaign Friday, or United Fund services may suffer. For Channel 8 News on the Move, this is June Gray at the United Fund Luncheon.
subject to careful scrutiny and review.
The question I had is, do I understand that we are going to get some guidelines from our individual states as far as...
Reassures you that notwithstanding some of the press reports, localities throughout the country to achieve some objective uniformity. As a result of this harrowing experience, sharing stuff that is opposed with respect to the locality's own source of revenues in every way, so as not to interfere with projects having a small portion of revenue sharing funding. In addition to the provision,
always mean is that your local accountant or whoever
to distribute the funds, were states who do not have state income tax penalized?
Question.
Much in the past few days. I think about it daily as I second to none. Our needs for spoken in 1947.
Why do you think that demonstrations are the way to accomplish your goal?
Because this way people will know that there is a lot of dissatisfaction in the community. People will understand that black people no longer will stand by and allow their numbers to be shot and allow white policemen to come in the community and indiscriminately beat black folks without something being done about it.
You take the larger or the greater of those two calculations, and that is what the state receives. So in Texas's case, you clearly come under the Senate formula, and you are not penalized for the absence of income tax collections in your state determination. The future of this program is now in your hands to prove that the program, the final version of the bill, is very close to the original administration's proposal. And it's certainly consistent with interference with initiate the President's program of special revenue sharing. I hold myself available with
have the table before me in the presence of mine enemy.
Right on.
Now, a lot of people don't even understand that. They get nervous and shaky, and they can't pull it off. But see, if you a deal...
How you feel about it? But I feel like he was just one. It's not going to stop.
Right on, man. We gonna be stopped. And you know, it's real funny to me. Hey. And I want you to hear me. Yeah. It's well, you see, history repeats itself.
Tell him to get it right, said George
Okay, now shut the gate.
Don't hit the needle with your picture there.
Come by here, my we don't want no policemen to shoot black folks. Try.